Max-Keiser of max-keiser.com, TV presenter on BBC, RT, Press TV, Genesis, Saturday mornings, writes for a lot of big publications, and we are honored to have Max Keiser on with us. Max, good to have you.
All right, Alex Jones, back with you. How are you?
Oh, so soon, Max. Good to have you here.
Phantasmagorical. I am ready to spill my guts.
Well, I love your breakdown of the fraud trifecta and what's happening with the mortgages. I want to recap that. But can you, in layman's terms, because you're an expert in vintage stock market technologies, a top broker, can you break down what it means to have the Federal Reserve announce that they're going to, quote, fix the debt with quantitative easing, i.e. injecting trillions more into their own coffers, not into the economy? Can you explain to people why that signal has driven the dollar down and gold towards the moon?
Well, it's quite, simple. I mean, you just had Bill Still on, and for those who missed it, they should replay that, and for those who heard it once, they should replay it and hear it again. And he said something very important. He said, you need to keep the amount of money in the system fixed, or maybe graduated, tied to population growth. You simply can't just keep money printing ad infinitum because it totally causes economic chaos. Unfortunately, the Federal Reserve Bank is trying to deal with this foreclosure fraud, which has created $60 trillion, by some estimates, dollars worth of bad paper that's imploding, which is deflation. So they're trying to shovel dollars at it to counteract this deflationary force. But so far, it's not doing anything. The only thing that it's succeeding in doing is that it's putting all this money ending up in the pockets of Chinese people and people in the Mideast and people in India who are buying stuff with it, like gold and commodities. I see cotton is at a 140-year high. I was on your show 2 months ago and 3 months ago and 6 months ago. I said, look at cotton. Cotton will be trading so high because the dollar is so weak, that the biggest job in America will once again be cotton picking.
And we see gold, not just gold going up, but crude oil as well, every commodity. Food,
oil is priced in dollars, and as the dollars go down, OPEC says, okay, go ahead and debase the dollar. We're just going to jack the price up. So that means that the U.S. thinks that they're going to stimulate their export market by devaluing the dollar, by printing more of them. So there's more of them, so the value per unit goes down. But the OPEC just simply says, well, then we're just going to raise the price because we've got an OPEC cartel. So therefore, the cost of your inputs, the cost of your raw material, the cost of oil is going to be such that you will have no export-led recovery. There is nothing that the Fed can do on a monetary basis to stimulate the economy other than the one option, which, of course, nobody will consider because it would put the speculators out of business. The option, of course, is to raise interest rates, not to lower interest rates. If you raise interest rates, then people will want to own dollars. They'll want to put money in America. That means that America has capital. That means America can be in the game of capitalism. But because there is no incentive to own dollars, people are dumping the U.S. dollar, and so America is resorting to command and control style of economic policies. It's communism, essentially Soviet-style communism by the Federal Open Market Committees, the new Politburo, and they are resulting in the exact same thing we saw in Soviet-era Russia 30 years ago, 40 years ago. You've got unemployment, you've got incredible shoddy merchandise. It's basically a collapse, Soviet-style collapse, engineered by the same Central Planning Committee. The tragedy in America is that the people who run the economy don't trust capitalism enough to give it a try. They don't trust capitalism. They're afraid that if they let capitalism work its magic and get rid of the losers and all the criminal banks, that their friends won't like them anymore, and they won't be invited to the she parties anymore.
And Max, that is the key. They are blaming capitalism and the free market for this when you've got 6 mega banks who can commit any crimes they want. They can steal trillions of dollars, steal veterans' death benefits. They can take houses they don't even have the deed to or that are paid for. And then they're up there.
Look at this fraud with the foreclosure market. It's actually, the trifecta of fraud has now become the fraud quartet.
All right, stay there. Tell us about
the fraud.
We got a break.
Fraud
quartet when we come back. And then the big banker-owned media says capitalism didn't work. We've got a socialist system run by the bankers. You'll pay your taxes directly to us. Not just interest on fiat money we create. We've got it all figured out for you. Capitalism didn't work. No, this didn't work. Back to Max Keiser. So you were getting into the fact that this is not free market. This is crony. Not even capitalism. It's like crony, corrupt looting going on. And you said Friday on the show at 6 a.m. during the special transmission that it was a trifecta. Now you're changing that to a quartet or a four-legged creature. Tell us about this creature.
Right. This the foreclosure fraud, which ties into the subprime mess, which ties into the entire collapse. There's more than 3 criminal frauds being perpetrated here. There's 4. So just a bit of a review. When the loans were made originally, they were made fraudulently. In 2004, we know the FBI launched a criminal investigation into these mortgage companies, which were peddling at the time what they called liar loans. That's fraud, because there's no such thing as a liar loan. They have a fiduciary responsibility to make good on loans that fulfill certain requirements, and one of them is that the person can, in fact, pay back the loan. So that was fraud number 1. Fraud number 2 is that, of course, now that there's a collapse and there's a problem with these liar loans and these fraud loans, there's a lot of foreclosures going on, and the banks who did the initial fraudulent inducement to get people off to buy into these loans are now fraudulently foreclosing on people. They don't have the paperwork. They don't have the documentation. They don't have the legal ability to legally foreclose on anybody with these mortgages. Number 3, they package those foreclosures, those fraudulent foreclosures, into mortgage-backed securities. They sold them to pension funds and other banks with the S&P and Moody's and other rating agencies' blessing, knowing that what they were selling was absolutely worthless and did not deserve an A rating. William K. Black just talked about this. They knowingly sold these to banks and pension funds, knowing that they deserved a 0 rating because they had no rateable assets whatsoever. So that's fraud number 3. Now here's the amazing part. Fraud number 4. After they sold these securities to pension accounts, banks like Goldman Sachs made massive bets against the securities themselves, knowing that they had sold fraudulent securities. It's like they sold tainted meat, and then they made a bet that the person who bought the tainted meat would get sick and die. So that's insider trading and fraud again. So that's fraud. Now, if you want to add another...
Yeah, let's go to the quintet. Let me throw a quintet in here. Now we have Bloomberg reporting 7 months ago, that the government is, quote, ordering private pension funds to invest in failed banks. So they've already been swindled once. Now they're ordered by the tyrants who have no law. They just order them through fear to invest in failed pensions. So that's number 5. So let's go to number 6.
Okay, number 6 is that, again, banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and the rest, they have what they call credit default swaps. These are insurance contracts, essentially, that are made in excess of the face value of the fraudulent bonds that they sold. So when the bonds collapsed and they were short those bonds and they made money on their shorts, they made another huge score on the insurance that they took out, that they would, in fact, make negative bets on the very securities that they sold fraudulently to begin with. So this is why, at the end of this year, Goldman Sachs and the rest of Wall Street is going to pay themselves $144 billion in bonuses, another new all-time record. At the same year, unemployment's up, food stamps are up, poverty is up, because what we've seen here is a transference of wealth from 99% of the population to 1% of the population.
Okay, but let's go to number 7. Now 2 years into the October 2008 banker takeover known as the bailout, they still won't tell Congress where trillions went, and Paulson said on October 3rd, you must pass this to unfreeze mortgages. September 4th, he said, we're not going to use it for that now, and we're not going to tell you what we used it for, and we know they used it to pay bonuses out to themselves. So they're just getting us coming and going in every direction.
Yeah, to get to the original question, what is quantitative easing? What's it for? It's to cover the bankers' butt. I mean, they are still have paper on their books that they are telling people is worth 100 cents on a dollar.
But they're taking that money in quantitative easing and keeping it and then still pushing the failed stuff out to the pension funds.
Exactly.
Well done, Max Keiser. max-keiser.com. We're going to come back, talk about where he sees all this going, and again, in layman's terms, what inflation means, how bad he thinks it'll get. The G20 calls it coordinated devaluation worldwide. They order it. Countries start the devaluation race, and they go, oh my gosh, there's a currency war. Quick, give us more power. We'll fix it. All right, going back to Max Keiser. Max, I want to get into what inflation is going to do and your expert view of max-keiser.com. But before we do that, here's the latest prisonplanet.com article. Americans buying guns in preparation for civil unrest. Interest in purchasing silver and food stamps also skyrockets in anticipation of economic collapse. And I'm not sure what that means. Interest in purchasing silver and food stamps also skyrockets in anticipation of economic collapse. I'm going to have to read the full article to find out exactly what he's... I guess they're buying some type of food certificate. I guess he's got links to all of this being announced in the article at prisonplanet.com. But let's talk about what this economy is going to do, where you see it going, Max Keiser.
Well, let me give you some breaking news, something that's just hitting the radar now. It's come out that Germany, which has 3,000 tons of gold, as opposed to, they're one of the biggest gold holders in the world, bigger than, they've got 6,000 tons, bigger than China, bigger than every country except the U.S. Now, here's the deal. 66% of Germany's gold is held in the New York Fed in New York City. That means roughly 3,400 tons of Germany's gold is held in New York City. Now, when I was in the Bundesbank a couple of years ago, I asked them about this, and they confirmed the fact that, yes, Germany has their gold. James Turk, big gold expert, confirms this. Jim Rickards, who's quoted widely and believes we're going back to a gold standard, brought up the possibility that the U.S. will commandeer Germany's gold as the result of the world going back to some kind of gold-backed currency, so that the U.S. is going to commandeer all the gold that they hold at the New York Fed, which equals a total of 6,000 tons, giving the U.S. a total of 14,000 tons, and the U.S. produces 20% of the output of gold every year. The U.S. becomes a huge gold player. So this quantitative easing, this money printing, if it fails, if it doesn't work, if prices continue to collapse, plan B is that the U.S. is going to go to a gold-backed currency, and they're going to commandeer all the gold held in the New York Fed on behalf of these foreign entities. And this will set up, obviously, a huge antagonism between America and mostly these European countries that store their gold in the U.S. And so remember when Nixon took America off the gold standard in 1971, France sent in warships to the New York harbor to pick up their gold. Germany didn't do it. UK didn't do it. They still have gold on deposit at the New York Fed. But France had to send in their warships. So that's the kind of action we can anticipate once it becomes clear that quantitative easing has failed, QE2 has failed. The U.S. is going to hit the plan B, which is let's go to a gold standard. And by the way, we own 6,000 tons of gold that you think you own. That gives us a total of 14,000 tons of gold. We have the world's dominant currency backed by gold. Everyone else can go, it can get lost. And that's what's going to drive the price of gold. Not only are the economic factors going to drive the price of gold, but there's a political factor as antagonisms flare up, trade wars heat up, and now we're going to have this currency war heat up because around the world folks are fighting the currency war. They're trying to drive their own currency lower as a way to compete with each other. They shoot themselves in the head by driving their own currency lower. If all that fails, as of course it has to fail, then we're talking gold standard, and then we're talking commandeer of all this gold, and there we are sitting on the doorstep of global conflict.